Hi, I'm Andy Harrington, creator of the Public Speakers University and author of Present, Pitch and Grow Rich. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you how great speakers create change. And at the same time, I'm going to share with you my jet set speaker system that has enabled me and my students to travel around the world speaking at some of those prestigious venues alongside some incredible people. People like Anthony Robbins, Donald Trump, Brian Tracy, Richard Branson, Sir Bob Geldof. Just incredible speakers, all themselves who have been able to instigate change. So come on, let's get started, turn you into a great speaker. So come on into Speaker's Studio and I'll share with you how great speakers create change. Now, the very first thing that you have to learn to do if you're going to be a great speaker is this one thing. Now, this one thing will set you apart from nearly every other speaker out there or on the circuit. In fact, this one thing will ensure that you have more influence than you could ever possibly imagine. See, here's the thing. You have got to stop delivering information. You've got to stop delivering content. You see, wouldn't you agree with me that in order for you to create change, and that's exactly what we're talking about here, isn't it? Creating change, because if you're a speaker, what do you want to do? Well, you want to instigate change. You want people to take action on your message. You want them to go out there and implement your advice. You want them to make some change in some way. And that's probably why they're listening to you speak in the first place, is that they are in some way frustrated with their current life conditions or their business conditions or their health conditions, whatever the topic is that you happen to be speaking on, they're unhappy with their level of results. So they're looking for change. But if you go ahead and just deliver information, if you go ahead and just deliver content, you won't instigate that change, because there's one thing that beats everything that you have to change. And it is beliefs. What you have to do, instead of sharing content, instead of giving it information, what you have to do is change beliefs. Meaning, rather than share knowledge, share instead what you believe. What do you believe about this point that you're making? What do you believe about the topic that you're talking on? Share that passion and share those beliefs, because it's your beliefs that cause every other action to take place in your life, and therefore also your audience. So firstly, you've got to know, what is it that perhaps your audience believes already that's maybe holding them back? And then how do you go about changing that? That's exactly what I teach my students to do in the Public Speakers University. We learn, over the course of 3 days, we learn how to structure our content in such a way that it causes people to change their beliefs. And that's what makes it so successful, and that is why we get literally hundreds of people traveling all over the country, in fact all over the world, to come to the Public Speakers University to learn how to become a speaker that can create change. And I know that's what you want too. You want to be a speaker that creates change. So you've got to learn how to shift beliefs, because think about it. If you have a strongly held belief, if someone has a strongly held belief about something, can that cause them to see the world differently to somebody else sitting next to them? You bet. Maybe you've had this experience in your life. Now, let's say you drive a car, a motor car. I want you to go back into your mind to the time you drove that car for the very first time. You're probably very happy driving away from the showroom or the person you bought it from. And then a few moments later, after you're driving down the road, you notice another car in your peripheral vision that looks exactly the same as the car that you're now driving. Same make, same model. And your eyes are attracted to it. And again, later on, you'll be attracted to another car that's the same car as yours. Now, were those cars there before you bought your car? Of course they were, but your mind deleted them. It didn't pay attention to those, which is exactly how your beliefs work. Look, those cars were there all the time. And so are your beliefs. Your beliefs cause you to delete what's going on around you that doesn't fit with those belief structures. And only as you see those things that fit with those belief structures. So here's the thing. You can give all the greatest content in the world in your speech, in your presentation, but if you don't change beliefs, you won't change the perspective or the view of your audience. If that doesn't happen, no change will take place. All right, so the second thing that you need to focus on if you want to be a great speaker that creates change is the next step in the process. See, once you have a certain perspective, once your audience has a certain perspective, once anybody has a certain perspective, there's something else that happens immediately after that. Because your beliefs will change this one thing. It will change how you effectively communicate with yourself. Of course, this will also change how your audience is communicating with themselves. What I'm talking here about is simply, of course, your audience's thoughts. The audience's thoughts. What are they thinking? Now, there's only really a couple of things you can do when you're thinking. Number one is you can talk to yourself. So audiences can have conversations with themselves. They can talk to themselves. Second thing your audience is doing is they're making pictures in their mind. They're the only two things you can do with your thoughts. You can either say something to yourself or you can picture something in your mind. And how you picture things in your mind and what you say to yourself will largely determine what happens here. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to change the audience's thoughts? Well, one of the ways that we do that is first by changing beliefs. But then we do that, we have to use what we would call belief-based statements. Rather than share content, you share now belief-based statements. And we build these at the Public Speakers University. So rather than your content be dry and technical and boring, quite frankly, and as often many people say, overwhelming, instead your content comes to life because you're talking to people and communicating at a much deeper level than most other speakers ever do. So you've got to change these thoughts. One of the ways you do that is, after making a belief-based statement, is to pause. Because pausing allows your audience to take in what you've just said and then make a picture of it in their mind. And then, of course, relate that picture to their lives. Think of it this way. Over here is the audience's current level of thinking, the way they communicate themselves, their beliefs, their current, how should we say, model of the world. And what we're saying is the current way they do things, the current way of thinking isn't getting the results they want. Here's you over here with this new content, this new way of being, this new model of the world, if you will. Now, when you start sharing those things, you have to pause and deliver those great impact lines, because when pausing after that impact line, it causes the audience to have a moment where they can overlay your new way with their old way. And the moment you overlay your new way over their old way could well be changed at that moment, because it begins to change it. And that is what makes a great speaker. If you listen to some of the greatest speeches ever delivered, Martin Luther King Jr., for example, you'll notice the way that not only does he have this great voice that triumphantly delivers beliefs, and actually every single word pretty much that comes out of his mouth is indeed a belief-based statement. Look at the conviction in his voice compared to your average speaker, because he believes it. And then he pauses at moments, even though he's got great lines where he's going quite quickly and building crescendo, there's still moments where he pauses so the audience can make a picture in their mind. You want to be doing the same. Change your audience's thoughts. Let's take a look at the third element that makes great speakers create change. I hope you're enjoying this, because the reason you're watching this, and I don't know you personally yet, but I care about you deeply, is that you one day, hopefully, are going to deliver a speech. Even if it's just one in your life, that one speech could facilitate change that could make a big difference in other people's lives. And if you do it once, no doubt you'll be doing it again, and soon you'll also become a champion, world-renowned speaker, I hope. Okay, let's take a look at what this third element is right now. This third element that helps great speakers create change is probably, I would believe, one of the most important. In fact, I think it's everything. And Tony Robbins talks a lot about this too. But you should be thinking about implementing this into your talks. You see, the one overriding factor that will facilitate more change is this one factor, which is state. You see, when the audience has a certain belief about something, in the moment they'll have a thought, and that thought will then facilitate a particular state in that person. And state is everything. It's all we're ever shooting for. Your state, how you feel in any given moment, is vitally important. And you have to learn. As a speaker, you must use every tool and tactic in your tool bag to facilitate the ability to change the audience's state throughout your presentation. Taking them, as we say, on a journey. The ability to guide them up here and then fall right down here. The ability to use your voice, your gestures, and your statements to facilitate a change of state in your audience. Because when the audience's state changes and they feel that shift within them, you have them in the palm of your hand. You have them interested in you. You have them therefore interested in your message. But there's another reason why state's very important. And it's probably even more important than you could possibly ever imagine. You see, every one of us, we've all done one thing out of a state that we're either proud of or we regret. And that is, in the state that we're in, we do one very important thing. And that state is that we then move to this next element where we actually go ahead and make new decisions. You see, your decisions are often born out of the state that you're in when you decide. So if you're going to be a great speaker, what do you have to do? Well, we've got to get the audience to make new decisions, haven't we? You see, if we want them to facilitate change, well, they've got to make a decision to change. But it can't be a decision, it's got to be a commitment to change. And there's a big difference between the state required for someone to make an in-the-moment decision and the state required where they make a commitment to make a change. And so what you have to learn to do is shift this state, shall we shift these decisions? And we've got to get the audience agreeing with us. If we make statements that we want the audience to agree with, then we ought to make them make that agreement with us right there in the room. So that facilitated this decision for them. So they make that decision right there. Because ultimately that's what it's all about. If you want to become a great speaker that facilitates change, you've got to get them to make new decisions. Wouldn't you be in a very different place today had you made different decisions in the past? I know the students that have attended my Public Speakers University have certainly known that they would be in a very different place today had they made different decisions in the past. Speakers that I've trained that have gone on to make $500,000, $1 million just from speaking in 1 year alone, in some case in just one speech, all because they knew how to put this into action. And when you learn to do the same, if you were to come to the Public Speakers University also, and you learn to master the jet set speaker system that's caused me to be able to go around the world and share the stage with some incredible people. Just a few weeks ago, I was speaking alongside Bill Clinton, ex-president of the United States. Little old me, little old Andy Harrington. Why? Because I have a skill that only a very few people in the world have learned to master. And if you were to become my student, you can learn how to do this same thing. And if you have a desire, if there's something in you, if there is a message in you that you believe the world needs to hear, if you see problems in the world that you'd like to change, whatever the area of expertise that you have, what environment you're in, whether it's a business environment, whether it's in the personal environment, whether you want to deal with the general public or not, whether you want to work in the health industry, whether you work in the finance industry, whether you want to work as a life coach or help somebody in any form of their life, if you see that problem and you have some life experiences, if you have some knowledge, if you've made some distinctions in the area, then you have the power within you to make that change. And if you have those skills, if you have those gifts within you, then really it is your right to go out and share those gifts. And if you don't share those gifts out of some fear or some small-mindedness on your part to think you're not enough, actually in many ways I would say you're being selfish. Get the focus off of you and get it onto the people that are in trouble. Get it onto those folks that need your help, the people that need your advice. And when you focus on them, then you disappear and it becomes less about you and more about your message and more about the people this message is for. And that's why I came into the studio to share this message with you right now, because I want to reach out to you. Even though I don't know you personally yet, I want to. I want to meet you personally, and I want to personally train you. I want to personally give you world-class training to become the truly next generation of presenters, and really the next generation of leaders, because the world needs leaders. The world needs you right now to stand up and be counted, to stand up and share a message. And once you learn this system, once you put all this into practice, this will also not just become the framework for your presentations, whether those presentations are, let's say, a short presentation of 10 minutes or 30 or 60 or 90, or a whole day's workshop. This will also become your same framework that you can utilize to write your book and develop other programs and products that you can also use to get your message out to a wider audience. So, hopefully so far you've seen that, number one, your beliefs and the beliefs that you share with your audience are vital, because we've got to change the beliefs of our audience, because that therefore will determine the way they view the world, the perspective they have. Your job is to change their perspective, to change their view of the world. That will then change their state, how they feel, and hopefully we can change their state so they make new decisions, so they end up in a very different place to the place they're in today. And when they do that, you can feel good to know that you facilitated that. All right, so hopefully you're enjoying this, because the fifth element is, of course, crucial. And whilst it seems simple, it is quite remarkable how many people fall short on this. But actually the reason they fall short is because all these things are missing first. Many people try to jump to this element. Many people try to jump straight in here and can't work out why they can't stay the distance and don't stay the course. You want to make sure that the people you care about, your audience, doesn't make that same mistake. So don't make the mistake of jumping in here and just talking about this. If you do, you will be disserving your audience. I know it's natural for people to do it, but it's also incorrect. Because before we sell the relief to their problems, we have to first sell the belief. Before we sell the relief, sell the belief. And then we have to, all these things must in action be trained by us. We've got to change this, then this, then this, have them make this, so that next they can quite obviously do this. Of course, take new actions. Now, many people these days talk about the law of attraction. This whole idea that your thoughts can help create your world around you. And we've just seen that's certainly true, but not by itself, huh? Because the law of attraction, think about the word attraction. Attract action. That's why the word is attraction. Attract action. So like I say, while other people are out there thinking about the law of attraction, I'm out attracting action. What are you doing? Are you attracting action? Are you doing all of this to yourself and for yourself to attract action? And will you do the same for your audiences? Will your audiences also be attracted to action because of what you've lined up ahead of time? That's what great speakers do to create change. Can you do the same? I think you can. Because what is it that ultimately leads to? What ultimately do your audience want? When they walk in for a business meeting, a business presentation, a live public demonstration or presentation, what are they there for? Because what they're saying is that their current circumstances don't give them what they want. And what they want instead is some new ones of these. They want, of course, new results. And that's good that they want new results, because that hunger within them, that desire, that frustration that's got them into that room is the very thing you need to latch on to assist them to facilitate this change within them. Because let's just take a look though at what has to happen in order for that to facilitate new results. If they're going to get new results, they've got to make new actions. But if they're going to have new actions, they've got to make new decisions. And might they be hanging on to some old ways of doing things that maybe they've been doing for quite a long time, that don't really work, but they're kind of wedded to them? Well, we've got to undo some of those old behaviours so there's room for new behaviours and new actions to come in. And that's why all of this has to happen this way. So new results must be new actions. New actions got to be new decisions, which means you've got to decide to stop doing some things in order to start doing some things. Does that mean you might meet some resistance? Yes. Did Martin Luther King Jr. meet some resistance? Yes. Did Nelson Mandela meet some resistance? Yes. Did John F. Kennedy meet some resistance? Yes. Did Winston Churchill meet some resistance? Yes. All good leaders, and that's what I'm calling you. All good leaders meet resistance. The question is, will you rise above that resistance and show through your view of the world how other people can also move through that resistance to a new whole dynamic, a whole new way of viewing the world and getting results. And those decisions, therefore, we've got to shift the audience's state. We've got to change the way they feel so they make good decisions. Because most decisions are, of course, state dependent. That state, well, we've got to change their thoughts, the way they talk to themselves and the pictures they make in their mind. And of course, that means we've got to paint pictures in their mind for them to see new pictures. We've got to give them words to have new thoughts. And all of that must also tie into new beliefs. So think how powerful you would be as a presenter if you had every single element of this mastered. Think how much you could influence change in your corner of the world, in your community, in your industry, in your niche, in your company, if you could put these things into practice. And the very fact that you are still watching this video right now tells me something about you. It tells me you're not the kind of person that shirks from that level of responsibility. If you would, then you wouldn't watch this video. The fact you're watching it tells me that you're watching it because you're being called to a higher place already. You're being called to a place of leadership. You're being asked to speak. You feel that you need to speak. So because you're being called to that place, don't duck out now, because the world, as I say, needs you. And if you were to give the opportunity, if you could come to my Speakers University, now I know it's a big investment to make, several thousands of dollars of investment to come to my multi-day seminar. But look, we have people coming from all over the world to this seminar to put this actions into place, to put my jet set speaker system into place in their presentations. So I would urge you, if you possibly can, to come and look. I know it's a big investment. I know it's several thousands, but you deserve this present. You deserve this gift of yourself. And quite frankly, the world deserves you to be there too. So find a way. So what I want to do now is, in a few seconds, I'm going to share with you ultimately my jet set speaker system. So you get a map now, a roadmap of where you need to go in order to become very successful as a speaker. Now, there are 4 big problems that you're going to have to learn to solve if you're going to become a truly professional speaker. So follow me now to the other side of the studio and I'll share with you what these 4 big problems are. Okay, so the very first problem that you're going to have to solve is that you first must become someone with great presentation skills. I mean, truly great presentation skills. Because unless you have the ability to stand in front of a group of people and have the level of certainty that you need to have them buy into your message, doesn't matter how good that message really is. So you've got to have a way of embodying that level of certainty through your physiology. That means through your gestures, how you have a great stance and hold yourself, whether you can be yourself and be conversational, the tones of your voice, and the ability you have to command the audience and hold them in the palm of your hand. So all great speakers, of course, have great presentation skills. The next element you'll need to learn to master is, of course, learning how to engage your audience. Clearly, you must learn to connect with the audience at a level that's deeper than most other speakers ever dream to do. You must become someone that is so charismatic as a speaker that you can hold people's attention for long periods of time because you have such an interesting voice, but you also have other tactics in how you engage the audience. Most speakers, it's just a monologue, meaning they just talk at the audience without really ever engaging the audience. And when you consider that what you're going to have to do is create and facilitate this change, well, if you don't have engagement with the audience, you have no audience. They're just waiting for you to finish. In fact, if you were to put a heart rate monitor on that audience, they're probably flatlining because you're monotone, like boo, and they're dead. So what do you do to engage the audience? And there's a number of tactics that we teach people at the Speakers University Intensive that helps people to engage with their audience, and you must learn how to do that. Thirdly, and this is where most people fall down, you have to learn how to structure your talk, how to structure your presentation. Meaning, The fear that many people have around public speaking and presenting to groups is because their preparation isn't right. And let me be clear to you, these are not in any way, shape or form about writing out your content as a script and memorizing it. That is crazy. Anybody who suggests that you should do that is mentally retarded. Let me tell you why. Because look, when was the last time you went to have a conversation with somebody and you scripted out that conversation before you had that conversation with that person? We don't do it naturally when we speak one-to-one with somebody. You don't script out a conversation. You just become very present and you show up and you share what's going on for you, what your beliefs are, what you care about, what's important to you. And that's how it should be when you present. You shouldn't script out in advance because then it won't become conversational. It will sound canned. It won't sound natural. And actually, in fact, it will sound like the audience don't need to be there. If you've ever watched a speech that has been canned, as they say, or it's scripted, well, the person's probably been practicing that presentation without the audience. And they've got it so well down that now they present it the same way they do when the audience isn't there. And don't you think the audience don't feel that? That the audience may as well not be there? You see, you've got to connect with the audience. There's no point just reading it like it's a script in a book. It may sound technically brilliant, as in it's, well-crafted language. Who cares? You're better off tripping over a few words and sounding like you care about the message and you care about the audience rather than just trying to script it out. So there has to be another way. How do you present for 90 minutes, 2 days, without scripting something out? How do you do that in a way that keeps your audience on the edge of their seat and structure the talk so it's memorable for you to deliver and memorable for them so they take action on your message? Now, again, we teach all this at the Speakers University, and we'd certainly love for you to be there. Now, I do know it's a large investment. In fact, it's $7,997 with no discounts and no offers to come to the program. But we're looking for the cream of the crop. We're looking for the key people that are going to become the next generation of great speakers. That's who I'm looking to work with. The fourth thing you must learn to do, and most speakers don't get this right, is to get paid to speak. How do you, as a beginning presenter, maybe having never presented before or only just started doing it or just been doing it in a small way, how do you get paid to speak? How do you genuinely make a business out of speaking? Well, there's only a few things you can do to do that, and we teach all of those at the university program. So if you want to get paid to travel all around the world, speaking in great destinations, then you need to learn how to do this. In literally this year alone, I'll be traveling in a few weeks to South Africa to speak alongside Sir Richard Branson and John DiMartini and some other fantastic speakers at a conference of 5,000 people. And I'll be making upwards of $250,000 for that just one single presentation. I've spoken alongside Bill Clinton in London. Later on this year, I'll be flying out to Malaysia to speak alongside Robert Kiyosaki. I'll also be speaking in Australia with Richard Branson. I'm also speaking in New Zealand, and I'll also be speaking in Perth and Adelaide and Sydney and Melbourne, and having this great tour, and then flying back to Singapore, and again the way back and speaking alongside Sir Richard Branson, as well as speaking right across the United States throughout this year. I love my life. I love sharing my message with the world and really making a difference. There are many things you can do in the world to make money, but how many of those ways really get you to feel on a regular basis and get the immediate impact that you're making a really big difference in someone's life? Professional speaking is fantastic. And even if you're going out there not even to be a professional speaker, but you want to promote your business, either through online video, as I am today, or perhaps you want to do it in a live workshop format, or just in meetings, or just improve your one-to-one communication, you've got to learn how to do all these things, because what you do one-to-many, you can do one-to-one as well. And that will really explode your results. So I really do urge you to come to the Speakers University Intensive. I say it's a large investment, I understand that, but ultimately, if you're going to become a truly professional speaker, you've got to have this ability to get that message out there, to put across your perspective, your ideas, your beliefs, and of course, potentially your products. As someone who's clearly enjoyed watching my videos, I'd like to offer you an invitation to attend my Public Speakers University Intensive. In this short intensive program, I'm going to share with you how to become and remain a speaker who has impact, someone who has real influence and someone who can make a lot more income from speaking. Whether you're doing this because you are a business owner and you want to make more money by positioning your business as the go-to authority, whether you're an expert and you want to share your information, or maybe you are someone who needs to raise capital for a business, or maybe you're just someone who has a message inside of you that you want to get out there, this program can really help get you to the next level. I've just announced some new dates for a city right near you, so go ahead and click this link right below. And if you're one of the first 199 people to register for this event, you'll get a free seat. So provided you're quick, you can get in free and you can get this world-class material for no cost to you whatsoever. So go ahead right now, click this link below, and we look forward to seeing you at the Public Speakers University Intensive.